Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Saturday, the January 4th, 2025, as I take care of something right there. Uh, I think I clicked on a paint tool by accident, but anyway, wanted to come on here and, talk a little wrestling, if you will. And I do apologize if you hear any, sounds and everything. I'm drinking some coffee early this morning, like I just did right now. I'm trying to do this before, certain individuals get up, and everything. Um, but anyways, I adjust the mic as well so you can hear me better. But anyway, wanted to come on here and talk about, a lot of wrestling that happened, a lot of wrestling news actually that's been happening in the past week or so. And I want to talk about, start off with last night and SmackDown going 3 hours. One of the reports we've been hearing, and a lot of people like JD from NY206 off the script, and Solomonster, Jason Solomon, the Solomonster sounds off, and even OTR Central to an extent. And by the way, OTR Central off the rope show is entering apparently their final year of covering wrestling as a fan. So hopefully, excuse me there, hopefully they'll give us a final year that we can look back upon fondly. And it's understandable why they're doing it too, because they're going back to school to get the degree, and they got other work and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of, and they also got this Sleg Daddy TV YouTube channel, which focuses mostly on football and all that and other sports. So it makes sense that they'd want to kind of like put one on the shelf for the time being, going forward. Excuse me. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, SmackDown going 3 hours, like I said, a lot of fans, like, JD from NY206 off the script, Solomon still sounds off, Jason Solomon, that is, Alex Six, just Alex, you know, A and B convos, if you will, everybody, Greg Morgan, Good Mike Work, and all of them have all been hoping, have all been hoping that basically this, 3 hour, I guess, this 3 hour run, which could be, just temporary to see how things go viewership and rating wise, that this 3 hour block now of SmackDown will benefit the talent that doesn't get utilized as much. And according to reports, that's basically the plan, to allow talent that doesn't get that much spotlight to get that spotlight, to be showcased better. And if that's the case, then cool, let's do it. Let's go with it. The other thing last night as well, as you notice in the images here, SmackDown went with a blue mat, and people were impressed by that. It kind of helps, things stand out a little bit. Kind of give a bit of an old school vibe, if you will. And I'm cool with that. I'm fine with them going with an old school look, if you will, going with an old school look that helps the presentation of the show stand out. Now, apparently, they're doing something similar for Raw on Netflix. We don't know what that's going to be. We don't know if that's just going to be the regular mat. We don't know if it's going to be something different. We don't know if it's going to be like what NXT was originally when it started as black and gold. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen, but we shall see going forward. So yeah, that helped. That was kind of a new thing for SmackDown. But also, what happened on SmackDown last night as well is what everybody was hoping for finally occurred, and it made sense for it to occur on the 3 hour debut of SmackDown. And that, of course, is the fact that Tiffany Stratton, as you see here, successfully cashed in her briefcase and won the WWE Women's Championship. And this got a huge pop. You see, there's a lot of reactions online, Twitter, YouTube, obviously, Facebook, that's popping, that's has popped up and it's going to be popping up. A lot of people feel that this should have been done long ago. That the teasing of her cashing, whether or not I should say that she'd be cashing in or not, was waning, and obviously Triple H had a plan. He's like, look, we're going to go 3 hours. Why don't we wait till then? That way we'll get a big pop, big number, and this will give people a reason to tune in the following weeks to see how we follow up on this. What's interesting though about Tiffany cashing in and everything is fans are supporting her like she's a babyface, but she's technically a heel. She's kind of in that. I wouldn't say that Chelsea Green camp or anything, but she's in that. She's in that camp, if you will, to where she's heel. She's a heel and everything, because she's very diva-ish in her mannerisms in presentation, very Barbie doll-like, if you will. But she's also good in the ring. She can back it up, and she's also smarter than she looks. Um, so the question obviously is, with her successfully cashing in finally, and everybody being happy about that, and saying that this is what was needed, for to start the new year off fresh and everything. The question is how are they going to follow it up? Because, like I said, them waiting for the 3 hour debut of SmackDown at the start of the year, excuse me, at the start of the year, um, was the best idea to go with and everything, because it's going to get, as I say, going to get people to tune in the following week to see what happens next. The question is, how do they follow this up? I mean, again, she's a heel, but she's a heelish baby face, if you will. So how do you deal with that? Because her cashing in on Naya's got to have a follow through, right? It's got to have a follow up. Are they planning to use this cash in by Tiffany to, do a double turn? To where it's Naya that becomes the baby face and Tiffany becomes a full on heel, and maybe Candice switches allegiances. We don't know. We don't know. Because we did have a moment last night where Naya and Candice, they didn't know where Tiffany was. Naya then told Candice, "Hey, after I take care of Naomi tonight, then I'll give you a shot and everything down the line." We don't know if we don't know if that's going to get revealed as Naya just trying to kiss up to Candice or keep Candice on her side, more so than Tiffany. We're not really sure. But we're going to find out. And again, that's one of the reasons this was done, so you can get that follow up, in the coming weeks and get more people to tune in to see not only how they handle this, but also to wonder how long Tiffany's reign's going to last. Naya, I mean, because when you look at the recent reigns of that championship, Bailey won at WrestleMania in April last year, right? She dropped it to Naya in August, right? So let's take a look at that. April, is 1, May 2, June 3, July 4, August 5. How long did Naya keep this? August 1, September 2, October 3, November 4, December 5. So you can only imagine that that's probably the number, if not shorter, for Tiffany. And the reason I say might be shorter is because there is speculation and rumor going around that she's going to defend against Charlotte at WrestleMania, and knowing how Charlotte is, and the pull she kind of has in that company, and how high some people say Triple H is, is on her, how high he is on Charlotte, that is, because she's Ric Flair's daughter. People worry that Tiffany's reign's only going to last until at least WrestleMania. She'll drop the title to Charlotte. Charlotte will get, what is it? I guess number 17 overall as far as women's main roster women's championships go. So, yeah, her reign might, last just as long. Now, I know people might say, well, why is that? Why can't Tiffany have a long reign? Why can't she have a year-long dominant reign like, let's say, Rhea Ripley did on Raw and everything? And I'm not saying she can't. In fact, I hope they extend her win streak for about a year. Really just, you know, feed into it and embrace it, and maybe along the lines, make her become that, make her go from being a beloved heelish babyface that gets the support of the fans, to being an annoying, face that the fans turn on, and you can naturally, because she's that kind of a person, naturally turn her heel, as a result. Have her turn, against the populace and say, hey, you want to boo me? Fine. I'll boo you back or something like that. So to me, I hope she has a long reign. I really do. The only issue, though, though, is this speculation, this rumor, this talk. Nothing's truly confirmed yet, but all signs apparently are pointing towards her and Charlotte, at WrestleMania this year in Vegas, with the possibility that Tiffany's reign ends there. Could Naya play a factor in that? Absolutely. And, we could, I mean, we all assume, that WWE is going to go a one-on-one route. What if they go a triple threat or a fatal four-way? And you include the likes of, let's say, Candice in there, maybe, or maybe Bianca, for all we know, maybe even Naomi. Whatever. What if they go a different route, and that's how Charlotte wins? She doesn't pin or make Tiffany submit. She pins somebody else. That way you keep Tiffany strong, but Charlotte gets number 17, and Tiffany has a reason to get her a rematch because Charlotte never pinned her. So we have to, really keep an eye on that as well, because, and I do apologize if you hear any gross sounds and all that. I do apologize. That's just me. But anyway, like I said, we have to keep an eye on that, because WWE apparently, from what some have been reporting, some reliable sources, that is, they like to feed misinformation, to wrestling outlets, like Fightful, like PW Insider, like WrestleVotes. They like to feed them false information to throw them off the trail. I mean, how many times, in the past year did, Sean Ross Sapp or others, kind of get a story right, or think they got a story right, from WWE when it comes to like certain matches and stuff, but then they get proven wrong. And then they have to come out and say, hey, we thought this, but obviously WWE fooled us. How many times? Not many, but it was enough obviously to make them realize that WWE is not going to allow their, behind the scenes secrets and everything to get out there as much as they used to. So, just because, you have speculation and rumor that it could be Charlotte against Tiffany at WrestleMania, we don't know that for sure. I mean, that is the logical direction they're going in, but also you got to realize that they could switch it up and add Nia to it, make it triple threat, add Candice or Bianca or Naomi to it, make it a fatal four-way, and go from there. That way, as I said, Charlotte gets number 10, or number 17, I should say. I'm at the 10-minute mark, that's why number 10 came to my mind. But Charlotte gets number 17, but it also protects Tiffany, because Tiffany doesn't get pinned or submitted. Just saying. Let me get some coffee here for a second. Like I said, just saying. But to me, that would make a lot more, how do you put it, a lot more sense if they go that route and they want to protect Tiffany to go that multi-woman, triple, three-way woman, four-way woman route. But we'll see what they got planned. But look, I'm not against her. I'm not against her having a long reign. I hope she does. I hope because because here's what I look at. I think they view someone like, let's say, a Liv Morgan and a Tiffany Stratton. I think they view them as this generation's Trish Stratus. That's how they view them. They view them as this generation's Trish Stratus. Like they're trying to find the next Trish, if you know what I mean. And you know, Liv might be that. Tiffany might be that. We'll see. 2025 will be the year of whether or not we get this generation's equivalent of Trish Stratus between those two. That's what I'm thinking. Because there is rumor and speculation that Trish is going to come back for another run this year, at least for WrestleMania and maybe up to SummerSlam. But we don't know who her feud's going to be, her main program's going to be with. But it sounds like, from last I read, all signs are pointing towards Liv Morgan. Like Liv Morgan's going to finish off her thing with Rhea, then she's going to have her thing with Becky, and then Trish is going to be waiting in the wings. That's what I'm understanding. That's what I'm understanding, but I could be wrong. But again, getting back to Tiffany, I hope she has a long run. She is charismatic. She has that personality that draws you to her, that makes you want to cheer for her. But you also know she still kind of represents everything that the women's division has tried to get away from or has gotten away from, but is slowly sneaking its way back in. And the thing that makes people love her because of that is she backs it up in the ring. She's actually a wrestler, but she's very diva-ish, and that's what makes it kind of hard for them to truly boo her, because she embraces being a diva, but she also knows when that bell rings, it's time to be a wrestler. So that's why, in my opinion, they love this character. They love her. They love her with all their heart. But again, as history has shown recently, in the past, what has it been? Past 10 months. As history has shown, basically, I think it's been best 9 to 10 months, I should say. As history has shown, women that have that championship only have at most 5 month reigns, if not a month or longer or a month shorter. And in Tiffany's case, it might just end up being a month shorter than Nia and Bayley. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully Charlotte, is a professional enough to do business and say, I'm going to put this girl over because she's the new generation. Oh, she's the future. I've had my time. I've accumulated all these accolades in just less than a decade. But this is her time now. This is Tiffany's time now. So hopefully Charlotte understands that. Hopefully she understands that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, congratulations to Tiffany Stratton. And again, I hope she does have a long reign. But again, I look at the fact that she won it on the first 3-hour Smackdown, the first Smackdown of 2025. I look at the fact that WrestleMania, is in Las Vegas at the beginning of April. And again, January to February is a month, March is 2 months, April is 3, maybe 4, or 3 to 4, if you will. So I hope she has a long reign beyond that, but we'll see what happens when it comes to Charlotte, if that's the route they go for WrestleMania. But congratulations to Tiffany. Hope you have a long reign. Speaking of events that are going to happen within the month, at the beginning of next month, not this month, but at the beginning of next month, will be the Royal Rumble from Indianapolis, Indiana, from Lucas Oil Stadium. And apparently, according to WrestleTix, it's almost sold out, so that's pretty good. But anyway, speaking of the Rumble, everybody's wondering, okay, when is the next Rumble going to be? Where is it going to be located at? Is it going to be 2 nights? and everything. Well, I will say this: if it's 2 nights, um, and I do apologize if you heard anything there. If that was a notification coming in, I do apologize. Um, but if it is 2 nights, well, I hope the superstars, the men and women there, um, first of all, I hope they have, depending on the weather, because it's mostly hot. Well, this will be in 2026, because it's mostly desert, in some parts, I should say. But I hope they have plenty of fluids, have plenty of suntan lotion or sunblock, if you will. Um, and I hope they have I hope they have some air conditioning, like coolers, to cool the ring and all that. Because confirmed by Sean Rossap at Fightful Select, PW Insider, Mike Johnson, and others through various sources within WWE. Now, we don't know if it's totally true yet. WWE hasn't truly come out and said anything yet. They haven't officially said anything, although they're going to probably wait till the Rumble itself to announce it. But according to various reports from reliable sources, Royal Rumble next year will be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. That's right. It'll be in Saudi Arabia next year. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. If this is true, now like I said, WWE has yet to fully confirm. Let's pin that right there. We're only hearing this through PW Insider and Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful and others, saying they've talked to those confirming that the Rumble will be in Saudi Arabia. Now, if WWE comes out with something today, as you're listening to this, watching this, then fine. That's their decision, and they want to do that. But if it's not true, and we find out it's going to be somewhere here in the States, then once again, WWE is doing what they can to throw off all these insider, websites, off the trail. They're basically trying to tell them, hey, stop sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, and and just be what you really are, and that's just fans. That speculate and guess. So again, let's just pin the possibility that this is going to Saudi Arabia, but Sean Rossap, Sean Rossap of Fightful, and Mike Johnson of PW Insider, and others that are and these other reliable sources have kind of been on the I guess you could say on key, if you will, when it comes to making these kind of reports and everything, for future feuds, call-ups, as well as PLE pay-per-view locations for companies like WWE, AEW, TNA, New Japan, you name it. So they could. So I'm not saying that they're not. So I'm not ruling out. I'm not ruling out that this isn't true. But let's just pin it right now, because again, WWE hasn't concretely said anything yet. But if this is true, and I am leaning towards the fact that it could be, I look at it like this. I look at it like this. WWE realizes that the two events they have there, Crown Jewel and maybe the King of the Ring tournament or whatever it is, but mostly just Crown Jewel events, they realize, okay, look, we're going there, in during months to where their summer season is just beginning and ending and it's warm. So they realize if they go into January, they'll already basically, I guess you could say, feeling up the required date, if you will, to have an event there. Because let's be honest, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't really think Triple H or Nick Khan or Ari Emanuel, I don't think they like going to Saudi Arabia as part of this deal, but they have to. It's a deal that's committed, or that they committed to at least what is it, 2027 at most. For another few years. It's a deal that they've committed to, and they have to see it through, or else there could be consequences. And knowing how, and I say it with all due respect, no offense, how Saudi Arabia has been pictured at times, or has been, I guess you could say, ridiculed and everything because of those that decide to come over to other countries and cause trouble, if not worse. You can't blame those in WWE and in TKO for wanting to try to get this deal done as quickly as possible by putting out as many events putting out, as early as events as they can. So, for them to say, hey, we want to, we wanted to have the Royal Rumble in Riyadh, for you guys, as part of the deal, then I don't blame them. Get it out of the way, get it out of the way, so that way you don't have to worry about, okay, do we have to come back in May? Because as far as I know, they only have two shows they do, right? One in May, June, and then one in October, November. So I look at the fact that, all they have to do is do this in January, February next year. Then they can use the whole rest of the year to go wherever they want to go. But with Raw, Smackdown, NXT, PLEs, and they can go wherever they want to go up until at least October, November, and then they can do their committed date and not have to worry about that for at least maybe another year. That's just my opinion. Because again, I think, they want to get this deal done with as quickly as possible so they can get out of there. If you know what I mean. Now I know people will look at this and be like, well, I feel sorry for the women and all that because they're going to have to be dressed, fully clothed and everything. And yeah, that is the disadvantage if you're the women's superstars and all that. Don't get me wrong. That is the disadvantage. But that's why I hope they have cooling systems around that ring or under that ring during the Women's Royal Rumble match, because it's gonna be hot. Let's be honest. It's not gonna be death hot, if you will, like it would be later on the year or midpoint year, or and later in the year. But it's gonna be a decent temperature. However, you know, however, I look at this. People will criticize that the women are going to have crickets, that nobody's going to care about a women's Royal Rumble match in Saudi Arabia. You'd be mistaken. You would be mistaken, because they actually have enjoyed the women's matches there. They have. Now, is this going to probably cause some confliction with superstars, men and women? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, it will cause some confliction, because not many want to go to Saudi Arabia. They don't. They don't want to be. They don't want to take part in this and everything. And that's why I also say you need to pin this report that Sean Rossap and PW Insider and all of them are reporting on. You need to pin it as you need to pin it with quotes, if you will. You need to pin it with quotes. You need to pin it with a grain of salt, because we don't know if it's totally true, because WWE hasn't truly come out and said anything yet. And because they haven't truly come out and said anything yet, it's not officially confirmed. Again, they could be throwing, all these people off, and then they're going to reveal, oh, it's going to be somewhere else. But if they do reveal, that's up to them, and I could see why they'd want to do it. Get the committed dates out of the way as quickly as they can, so they can get this deal done, or this current deal done and out of the way as quickly as they can, and get as far away from the Saudi Arabia situation, as possible. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion if it's true, if it turns out to be true. But we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see. And I'm sure Sean Rossap, and I'm sure Mike Johnson, and I'm sure people at WrestleVotes, they all understand. Yeah, we're hearing this from various sources, but we don't know if it's true. I'm sure I'm sure they're basically saying to themselves, yeah, the sources are telling us, but we're not sure if it's true. It could be just a ploy to throw us off. So I'm sure they're preparing themselves already to come out and say, hey guys, what we said about the Rumble being Saudi Arabia, that's not true. We were fooled. We were fooled and everything. So that's on that's on us. That's on us. And let me get some coffee here for a second. But yeah, if I'm you know, but yeah, like I said, if I'm Sean Rossap and I'm Mike Johnson, the PW Insider, and if I'm Wrestle Votes and all them, as well as even Wrestle Observer, you know, which which if they're the ones that originally reported this, that is basically telling you to put this with a or pin this with a grain of salt, if you will. Um, Hopefully, if I'm any of them, I'm getting a statement ready to tell people, hey, I was wrong about this reporting. This was a false report, and we got played. We got played by WWE. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. But let me know what your thoughts are on this, and let's get on to the next item, shall we? Hey, guy. Hey, so let's talk about some AEW here. And once again, AEW Dynamite's viewership has gone down the toilet. And once again, they were beaten out by NXT. Now, I know some people might say that the only reason NXT beat them is NXT is on over-the-air broadcast television, and AEW is on linear cable television, as well as on Max. And if you want to believe that's the reason, that's your opinion. Don't get me wrong. You have a right to your opinion. But let's be honest with ourselves. You know, let's be honest. When you're supposed to be the Monday Night Raw, the A show of your promotion, that being Dynamite, for AEW, when you're supposed to be that kind of show, and your viewership numbers are below that of a show that is not even on the same night, as yours, unless something preempts it over to that night, or preempts you to their night. When you lose out to a show that's not even on your night, and it's a show that's looked at as still being developmental, for the competition for WWE. When you're losing out to that by 70,000, 100,000 plus viewers, that's bad. That is very, very bad. Now, as I've talked about before, and others have pointed out, does AEW have some potential, with stories and character development and all that? Yeah. Yeah, they do. I mean, this whole thing with Ricochet, and what he's going through, that's perfect. Him doing what he did with Swerve because of what Swerve did to him. Swerve humiliating him with people showering Ricochet with a bunch of Charmin, in the middle of the ring at World's End, and then Ricochet basically using that to finally just snap and go psycho, serial killer, if you will, on Swerve on Dynamite this past Wednesday. That's perfect. That's a good first step. Now, you could say, well, he was being nerdy and doing the aha kind of stuff and everything. What changed? I think what changed is, in my opinion, Samantha, his fiance, pointed out that, probably pointed out the same thing all of us have been pointing out, that hey, you're not sticking out here. You're not showing that you're more than just, what you've been known for, and that's high flying. You know, You're you're not sticking out. You're not doing anything to be different. And I think that's what triggered Ricochet to probably go to Swerve, go to Tony, and say, "Hey, I got this great idea." And Tony, for once, signed off on a great idea, and Swerve was all for it. Like, yeah, let's do that. And here we go. Here's the result. And that's a good first step. Now, from a story aspect, you could expand on it too. You could say that Swerve's been like this ever since he left, you know, the competition, ever since he left Connecticut, if you will. He's been like this ever since then because the person there that he was last feuding with, you know, tried to end his career by, throwing him through a car. You could do, you could extend and play off that as basically being the genesis of where we are now with Ricochet's character. And, you know, off to the races you go, which would be great. Um, do they have other potential stuff going in there? Yeah, they have other potential stuff. Don't get me wrong. They do have potential. I mean, I know some people are writing off this whole Death Riders thing, this whole Death Riders NWO thing, if you will. And look, I don't blame them for writing it off. I don't. Um, but I still think there is a bit of potential there. But and I think Adam Copeland, Cope as he's going by now, which is another thing people didn't like. But believe it or not, Copeland actually said in an interview with Renee last year that he would like to be called. He'd like to go by that name. He'd like to go by the name Cope, because if he can't be Edge, let him be Cope. You know. But anyway, I think this whole Death Riders feuding with rated FTR, if you will, as they're calling themselves, I think that's a good first. I think that's possibly a good direction to go in. I think it really is a good direction to go in, because if the plan is to get the belt off Moxley, eventually, and you're not sure about the status of Darby Allin, because everybody's saying that, oh, the end goal is Darby Allin at All In against Moxley, right? That's the end goal. Here's the thing, though. God forbid anything is to happen to Darby. Need we forget that Darby is still planning and is still headstrong on climbing Everest? Did we forget about that? So to me, Copeland coming in and feuding with Moxley, I think honestly that's a precaution. That is a precautionary situation, because unless somebody talks Darby out of this climb of Mount Everest, where he wants to, where his goal is to plant, you know, the AEW flag at the top, unless somebody talks him out of it, he's going to go through with it. And we don't know what the end result's going to be. Um, but Copeland coming in and feuding with Moxley, I think, is a precautionary situation, because they don't know what Darby's status is going to be. So him coming in, feuding, forming this stable with FTR, Dax, and Cash, you know, um, I think it's a precaution. I think it's a precautionary situation right now. However, however, even if it's not, and they plan to put the title on Copeland, then they know that's the best way to transition it right over to Christian. That's right. They want to, because Christian still has that contract, right? Their version of Money in the Bank. So, what better person, story-wise, to cash it in on than the man you once looked at as a brother, the man you once looked at as your best friend? What better way to win the championship and rub it in his face that I've always been better than you and everything? What better way to give that moment to Christian than having him pin Copeland? I think it makes sense in that, from that perspective. Now, with that said, with that said, you know, there's another thing going around too that some folks are not too thrilled with, and that is the fact that Jeff Jarrett, speaking of the world title, Jeff Jarrett once, had signed his last full active in-ring contract as a competitor with AEW, and that he wants to end this last year or this last run. We don't know how many years it's going to be. It might be just for a year, maybe two. He wants to end this one last run as the AEW World Champion. And a lot of people are looking at this and they're like, Tony, don't. Don't, put the belt on him. You know, don't, give him that satisfaction and everything. But, a lot of people saying the way Tony thinks sometimes and his love for the legends and all that, he'll go through with it. He'll make it happen. But look, I like Jeff Jarrett too. Don't get me wrong. Jeff Jarrett's a great, despite how you feel about him, despite how you feel about him in the ring, behind the scenes, he's a good person. He's a good. Well, I've never met him. I've never met Jeff in person myself, but from what I've heard, behind the scenes, he's a good person. He's a great promoter, and everything, or at least has attempted to be on times a great promoter, and has proven it when given the chance. Um, you know, he, he's genuine. In a genuine capacity. He's fine. He's a great individual to be around. To have a conversation with. But I do agree that Jeff becoming world champion is not a good idea. You want to make Jeff TNT champion? Fine. You want to make him international continental champion? Fine. Not an issue. You want to send him over the Ring of Honor? Let him be the champion there? Fine. But don't let him become the world champion because, again, I have all the respect in the world for Jeff. I do. But you put the belt on Jeff Jarrett, even if it's for a month or a week, and you're going to legitimately drive off what audience you have left. Because you will have fans criticizing you by asking you, well, if you're going to make him the world champion, why couldn't you make Sting the world champion? Why couldn't you make him champion? You're gonna drive fans off if you go in that direction because the one thing they're gonna criticize you about is why didn't you do that for Sting? Again, this is just my opinion, but that's the one thing that could drive them away. Even more so, even if it's a week-long reign. But the point I'm getting at is, again, I respect Jeff Jarrett. I've been a fan of his for a bit, for a while. Again, I know not many are, but I respect what he's done, his contributions behind the scenes, for this business, creating an alternative when he did, and when it was needed in 2002, an alternative that's still going to this day, almost 23 years later, going to be 23 years, this summer. It's still going strong today. I have a lot of respect for the guy, and like I said, genuinely, he seems like a good person. He seems like a very good person. But I think, honestly, teasing the fact that he's going to try to end his last active run as a competitor as as AEW World Heavyweight Champion is not a good direction to go with. Even if it's for a week. Even if it's for a week, not a good idea. But a lot of people feel Tony's going to do it anyway. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But again, to me, you want to let him end his career as a champion. That's fine. just not as AEW World Champion. That's all people are asking. That's all people are asking Tony not to do. But the other things there, like I said, there are a few positives. The Ricochet Swerve situation, you know, the the possibility, the positive of, Copeland against Moxley and how that can benefit Christian in the end, and all that, and how to me this might, and again I could be wrong, might just be in a kind of like a, I guess you could say an alternative right now, kind of like a, we're doing this because we're not sure about Darby's status kind of deal. So, I have no problem with it. I have no problem, whatsoever. I have no problem with it whatsoever. But we'll see. We'll see what Tony does. Now, are there some other things that need to be improved on? Yeah, tag division needs to be worked on. I mean, obviously you want tag champs. I think the best team to give the tag belts to right now, to really assert, really assert, who they are. You got to go with the Hurt Syndicate. Go with them. Private Party has the belts. That's great. I'm happy for them. But I think honestly, you need to, give the belts to the Hurt Syndicate. Private Party, they have them because it's their moment. Bucks wanted to give it to them. That's great. But I think honestly, you need to give it to the Hurt Syndicate. I think I think between the upcoming Maximum Carnage and the Grand Slam event in Australia, those are the two events. One of those two events where I think you need to give the Hurt Syndicate the tag belts. You need to. You need to do that, and that could be a starting off point for Lashley and Benjamin to go after singles gold, as well. But I think that's what they need to do there. The women, I think definitely need some help. I mean, Mariah is a great champion, and everything, but I think her run's coming to an end. I think you got to give it back to Tony Storm. Obviously, we know what's going to happen here. We all know Tony going to this whole amnesia, thinking she's a rookie storyline and all that. All it really is in storyline is just to throw someone like Mariah off, so that when they do meet in Australia, Tony will reveal it was all a ruse. It was all to throw Mariah off, and Tony gets her belt back. You know, but hopefully they don't make Mariah look, dense to that. Hopefully, in my opinion, creatively, they have Mariah acknowledge, hey, look, I know you're trying to ruse me. I know you're trying to play me for a fool, but I'm not falling for it. And I'll see you at Grand Slam in Australia, timeless. And there you go. You can do that, without potentially ruining Mariah's character. Mercedes, I know Mercedes tonight at Wrestle Dynasty is, going in a title for title match where it's her in her New Japan Strong Women's title going up against, who is it, Mina? I think Mina in her Rev Pro Women's title. I know a lot of people are suspecting, they're suspecting Mercedes to win, and everything. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Tonight could be a big night for AEW, but we'll see. We'll see what happens and everything. Um, Apparently, Chris Statlander is going to take a long trip. Some are suspecting that long trip is going to be to Wrestle Dynasty, and that her going there might have something to do with Mercedes, and we might get one more match between them to where, Chris does finally win that TBS title. You know, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But yeah, you definitely need to do something to build the women's division back up. And if Statlander going to Dynasty to cost Mercedes a match against Mina and Mercedes loses her strong women's title as a result, that's fine. Then you set up one more match to where Mercedes be like, look, you got one more shot. You don't beat me here, no more title shots. And then there you go. You get Statlander to win. But we'll have to just wait and see. But they need something. They need something, and potentially, they have something going. You know, with Statlander and Monet right now, and Storm, doing the whole amnesia thing, and Mariah. So they have something there. They just can't goof it up, and hopefully they don't. But we'll see. We'll see what they do as far as tonight goes and everything when it comes to Wrestle Dynasty in Tokyo. But that's all I can say on that right now. But I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. And speaking of Wrestle Dynasty, might as well do this while I'm at it. But tonight is Wrestle Dynasty in Tokyo. And a lot of matches that will happen. Where a lot of matches I should say that are going to happen are they were pretty much set in stone from the beginning, but some of them did have some, I guess you could say, some alterations done because of what happened last night. For example, we have Yota Tishu, Yota Tichi, Taichichu. I can't pronounce his name correctly. I do apologize, but Yota taking on Jack Perry. When this was first announced, basically it was just a one-on-one match. It's just a run-on-one match. But apparently, Yota won championship gold last night at Wrestle Kingdom 19. Because yes, they held the Wrestle Kingdom, the WrestleMania, last night. In the Tokyo Dome, where they're also holding Wrestle Dynasty tonight. So, yeah. So, anyway, anyways, I'm trying to look up Wrestle Kingdom here on Twitter. That's it. Hold on. There it is. They showed me Tiffy did they had a Instagram of Tiffany or Twitter or Tiffany. How Twitter gives you things that you are recommended and all that because of what you like. Well, they had Tiffany doing one of those things where she holds a briefcase, puts it up to the screen, and then pops it back, and it becomes the women's championship. So yeah, I was trying to look something up here, but anyway, let's see. Here we go. Wrestle Kingdom 19. There we go. See, latest. Okay. So, see here. Um, yeah, it was that guy. Yeah. So Yota Chizizu or Yota beat David Finlay to become the IWGP Global Champion. So tonight, his match goes from a singles. It goes from a singles match. Oops! It goes from a singles match and everything to a championship match with Jack Perry. As I try to get that back here. Hold on for a sec. Here we go. It goes. It goes to now being a match for the IWGP Global Championship. So Yota will defend against Jack Perry. That's a result of what happened last night with his victory, with Yota's victory over David Finlay. So we also had um, Konosuke Takeshita win the Never Openweight Championship yesterday. He won the Nova. Yeah, the no, did he win? Yeah, he won the Never Openweight Championship from Shingo. Takeshita Konosuke Takeshita defeated Shingo last night. Uh, Shingo Tage for the Never Openweight Championship. So now he will defend both that and the international title against Timuro Timuro Ishii tonight in the Tokyo Dome. So Takeshita and Ishii will now be for the Never Openweight Championship, and I think even the um, even the AEW, I should say, AEW International Championship. So it's going to be a double title match, a double title defense by Takeshita against Ishii. And then we find out that Jeff Cobb is going to be the Great Khan's tag partner. And I think we also found out that let me see if I can look this up. Um, that tag title match is now going to be a triple team title match. A 3-team title match, if you will. So I'm gonna look this up. I think it's in here somewhere. I think that's what happened. I think it happened during like a press conference or something. I'm not really sure. Yeah, it says new team added to. It says new team added to the IWGP title match as well. I'm gonna go to Fightful here. It says Naito and Tanahashi. It says Tetsu Naito and Hiromu Takahashi have been added to the IWGP Tag Team title bout at Wrestle Dynasty, and they will face the Great Khan and his partner Jeff Cobb and the Young Bucks in a 3-way bout. So Naito and Tanahashi will be part of this in a triple threat tag team, or triple Naito, Tanahashi, Great Khan, Jeff Cobb, and the Young Bucks for the IWGP Tag Team titles. That's a result of last night. So the question obviously is, who do I think is going to win their matches? Well, we have a Lucha Gauntlet match where we don't know who the participants are yet, but it's going to be 4 New Japan guys and 4 CMLL guys. And what I'm looking at is, because it's on New Japan turf, I'm looking basically at, because again, like I said, it's on New Japan turf. I'm looking at a New Japan wrestler winning this. Whoever it is, we'll find out. But I also think we're going to get a surprise entrant, maybe 2 surprise entrants, one from AEW, one from Ring of Honor. So expect that. Expect the 4 New Japan and 4 CMLL. Expect the 4 New Japan and expect the 4 CMLL guys to be part of this, as well as expect someone Ring of Honor and one AEW, or let's just face it, one or 2, I should say, from AEW slash ROH, coming in as well. So expect, like I said, the 4 New Japan, IWGP, and the 4 CMLL participants to take part in this, and expect two AEW slash ROH stars to be part of it as well. But I do expect someone from New Japan to win. Then we have the World Tag Team Championships for Ring of Honor on the line. We have The Sons of Texas, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, defending against two members of the House of Torture. One of them, I think, is Evil, and then I can't think of the other person who that is. Let me double check on that real quickly, who that is. Hold on, here we go. Gonna go to Wikipedia because they do get updated. Thank goodness. Oh, it's not Evil. It's Sho and Yoshibara Kimura. Yoshibara Kimura. Sho and Yoshibaro Kimura. And like I say, they represent the House of Torture against the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. I'm expecting the Sons of Texas to win unless they do surprise us and give it to the House of Torture. But I'm going to go with the Sons of Texas. Now, the reason I would say they would go with the House of Torture because they are an offshoot of Bullet Club, if you will, the offshoot of Bullet Club. They're still part of Bullet Club, but they're an offshoot. The reason I say I would go with House of Torture is you could probably see maybe a turn happening, and more than anything, maybe Sammy turning on Dustin and Sammy joining the House of Torture, joining Bullet Club. I could see that. I could see them doing that to really get people invested into watching the rest of the event because apparently the this match, the Ring of Honor Tag Title match, and the other match, the International Women's Cup Final 4-way, um, they will be on the pre-show. They will be on the pre-show. But I'm going to go with the Sons of Texas unless, again, they decide to go that route that I just mentioned where House of Torture wins, and it's because Sammy turns on Dustin and joins House of Torture / Bullet Club. Just saying. So that's my thought though on what I think is going to happen in that match. I think again Sons of Texas are going to win. Then we have the other pre-show match, which is the International Women's Cup which is the International Women's Cup Final 4-way match. Winner receives a women's championship match from the participant. Winner receives a women's championship match from the participating promotion of their choosing, which means whoever wins, if it's someone from Ring of Honor that wins, then they can say, "Hey, I want to challenge for the IWGP Women's Championship." If it's someone from CMML, they can say, "I want to challenge for the AEW Women's Championship," and so on and so forth. So the participants are Willow Nightingale, AEW, uh, Prispone, if you will. Prispone. I can't think of her name. She used to go by Black Widow and Prispone, if you will. Priceophone, or Pricephone from CMLL. Athena, who is the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion potentially of all time now. If you count this Ring of Honor being associated with the original Ring of Honor, and Moma Watanabe. So Willow, Presumfo, Athena, and Watanabe. Watanabe, of course, representing Stardom. The question is who wins. I don't really know. I mean, Athena looked good in her debut in Japan a couple of days ago. So if anything, this is a toss-up. I know it's on, I know it's in Japan, so Watanabe would be the obvious choice. But I'm gonna go with Athena, because I think honestly, Athena winning, she would have the opportunity to challenge for the CMML Women's Championship, the Stardom's main championship. They, she would have the opportunity to do all that, but mostly have the opportunity to challenge for the women's world title on AEW. Now that is what fans would hope for. So I'm going to go with Athena to win, and I predict that they're looking for someone to challenge Mariah. There's your challenger. So I'm going to go with Athena to win the International Women's Cup Final Four-Way, and then announce she's challenging Mariah May for the title. Like I said, for the Lucha Gauntlet, I'm going to go with someone from New Japan to win, but I do expect two people from AEW/Ring of Honor to enter as well. Um, then also we have Mercedes Moné taking on Mina Shirakawa. Winner takes all match for the Strong Women's title and the Undisputed British Women's title, which is the Rev Pro Championship. You know, yeah, basically Rev Pro, Revolutionary Pro Wrestling, Rev Pro RPW, if you will. The question is, who walked out? Well, if Statlander didn't put the video up that she did about her taking a long trip and her not being scheduled for Collision tonight, if Statlander shows up and, distracts Monet, I'm going with Mina to win both titles. That's my assumption. But if that's not the case, excuse me there. If that's not the case, and it's just a straight one-on-one match, I'm gonna go with Mercedes because I do agree with JD. I do agree with Solomonster and others. Excuse me again. I do agree with them that you can't say for a second that the person running Rev Pro wouldn't like to have Mercedes as their champion, even if it's for a month. So I'm gonna go with Mercedes. So I'll say this: my prediction is if Statlander is gonna show up tonight and it distracts Mercedes, Mina wins. But if there's no Statlander, then I'm gonna go with Mercedes. So it's kind of 50-50, and it all depends on if Statlander will show up. Because again, long trip, not scheduled for AEW Collision tonight. I'm gonna go Mina if Statlander shows up, Mercedes if she doesn't. So that's just my opinion. Get more coffee there. Then we have David Finlay taking on Brody King, in which will be a slugfest. Both men are David Finlay, he's Fit Finlay's son. He's Fit Finlay's son. So I'm going to go and say that this is going to be a slugfest. Hard hitting. Brody King is used to that style. And I'm going to say Brody King. I would say Brody King would win because of the power and size advantage. But David Finlay lost last night. He lost his championship. He lost his championship to Yota. So I'm going to say that David Finlay wins here. He does not lose back-to-back matches. So I'm going to go David Finlay wins. Then we have Shota Yumio against Claudio Castagnoli. Again, I think this will be a good matchup. And again, I think because he lost last night to Zack Sabre Jr., I'm going to say that Shota wins tonight. They're not going to have Shota like David Finlay. They're not going to have him lose back-to-back nights. Then, like I said, we have Konosuke Takeshita against Tomohiro Ishii. Konosuke Takeshita against Tomohiro Ishii. A singles match for both the Never Openweight Championship and AEW, I should say, International Championship. Singles match for the Never Openweight Championship and AEW International Championship. Takeshita. This to me is going to be a hard-hitting match. Ishii has proven that he can be a hard-hitting individual. And I'm predicting Takeshita to win. I think him carrying the Never Openweight Championship into AEW is a good look for him. It would definitely get people to maybe tune in. or maybe even get the insiders and those behind the scenes at AEW to be like, hey, this guy's got two belts. Why isn't he, further up the card, maybe challenging for the world title? So I'm going to go with Konosuke Takeshita to retain, but I think it's going to be a very hard hitting match, to say the least. Now, unless the rules are different and it's a singles match to where it's 2 out of 3 falls, or they make that stipulation at the last minute, that's a different story. But I'm going to go with Takeshita to retain in this match. Then we have the three-way tag match for the vacant IWGP Tag Team titles. United Empire, Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb against the Young Bucks, and Los Econobres de Japan, Naito and Takahashi. I'm gonna go with the team that got added late. I'm gonna go with Naito and Takahashi to walk out with the tag team titles because it's Wrestling 101. The team that always gets added late walks out with the championship. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. So I'm going to go with Naito and Takahashi to walk out with the titles. Then we have Yota, the new IWGP Global Champion, against Jack Perry. I think this is going to be a good match as well. I would say Jack Perry wins and everything. I would say Jack Perry is going to win this match and then bring the global title over to AEW. But I'm going to go with Yota. I think Yota is going to win this match, and he's going to remain champion because New Japan, then unlike other companies, they're not the kind that's going to just take the belt off their champion after they've just won it. So I'm going to go with Yota to win, and will be which I could consider might be match of the night, in my opinion. Then we have Tanahashi against Shibata in a grappling 5-minute exhibition. So that'll be nice to see. I don't think you can declare a winner there because it's just going to be a grappling 5-minute exhibition match. Unless there's an angle, um, I don't can't see anything. I can't see unless there's an angle. I should say. Um, I I don't see anything else to talk about when it comes to that. So Tanahashi and Shibata, that kind of exhibition match they're gonna do. Then we have Kenny Omega against Gabe Kidd in a singles match. It'd be Kenny Omega's first match back since being diagnosed and having surgery for the Daco for the illness that he had, the same kind of illness that almost took out Brock Lesnar. This is going to be a good match. I'm going to go with Kenny Omega to win because you don't have Kenny Omega, like, someone of his stature, lose in his first match back, especially after such a life-threatening situation. I'm going to go with him to win. Um, but I'm not. But I will say this: for a singles match, expect a very violent, hard-hitting singles match between these two. But I'm going to go with Kenny Omega to win. Now, do I think the Bucks and Perry might get involved to kind of reignite that storyline? Going into 2025 for AEW, absolutely. I can definitely see them getting involved, but I see them getting involved after the match is done. That's just my opinion. Then, for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, we have Zack Sabre Jr. against Ricochet. Ricochet, as I mentioned earlier, is now going into this whole psycho serial killer situation, which again, I believe if they tap into what happened to him in his final night with WWE, as being like the catalyst, the genesis of where this all started, I think that could really help out. This is going to be a great match between the two. Very high flying, technical, and all that. But I'm going to tell you right now, Zack Sabre Jr. is winning. And my finger just hit the mic there. I do apologize. But I'm going to say that Zack Sabre Jr. is winning. And I say that because I've got a feeling unless he shows up on Collision tonight, I got a feeling we might see an appearance. As I adjust the mic here for a second, we might see an appearance by Swerve to cost Ricochet the match. So I'm going to go with a Zack Sabre Jr. win over Ricochet, mostly because Swerve will show up and cost Ricochet the match, continuing the storyline for AEW. So those are just my predictions on Wrestle Dynasty. Again, I'm going to go with Athena winning for the International Women's Cup final, the Sons of Texas winning and retaining their titles unless there's a swerve, courtesy of Sammy. I see a New Japan wrestler winning the 8-man Lucha Gauntlet match, as well as I see appearances by two AEW/ROH competitors, making it a 10-man Lucha Gauntlet match. I see Mercedes winning if there's no Statlander in the building, and I see Mina winning if there is. When it comes to the winner-take-all match, I see David Finlay winning over Brody King because they're not going to have him lose twice in one weekend. I see Shota Umino beating Claudio because it's, again, same thing. They're not going to have him lose twice in one weekend. I see Takeshita retaining both the Never Openweight and both the Never Openweight Championship and International Championship of AEW over Ishii. I see Naito and Takahashi winning the vacant IWGP Tag Team titles because they were the latest entry, so I can see that happening. I see Yota successfully defending his title, the IWGP Global Championship against Jack Perry, because they're not going to have the champion lose it 24 hours after winning it. I see Kenny Omega beating Gabe Kidd because you're not going to have him lose in his first match back after what he's gone through. But I also see post-match involvement with the Elite afterwards. And then I see Zack Sabre Jr. retaining over Ricochet because of a potential Swerve Strickland distraction. But that's just my predictions on it, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. And really, that's all I can say for now for this video. This wrestling news video for the first Saturday in January 2025. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere here on the internet, as well as check me out at divanart.com at BVW1979. As also check out my Teespring store, link is in the description at the bottom. Get yourself some merchandise there you can't get anywhere else. But guys, give me your thoughts on everything I've had to say here today. And until then, God bless, take care, I am out.